the biggest success point for Wicked Edge has been the data that they can collect from this quiz and how they've been able to use that data. And everything is really geared on what answers the customer picks or the potential, quiz taker takes. The routes that they take. And every single one of these is hooked up to something in their email marketing system. It is created a segment or it's created some sort of tag in their customer profile so that we're able to get really, nitty gritty with how they are marketing.
Before starting to talk about knives, talking about tacos, I want to first show off something that we soft launched yesterday. So talked about it on the show a little bit last week, but a lot of our customers, would you say that you're a busy person that would love to save time, both of you?
I think everyone in the world would agree to that. Yes.
And it's hard to do things like write copy or figure out the questions that you might want to have for your quiz, right?
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. I don't even know what the product is, but I think I know where you're going with this, Ben.
So if you don't know what the product is, so this is the new product that we announced, soft launch, I should say, yesterday, Octi AI.
Wow.
And so it is literally an artificial intelligence that will write your emails and text messages for you. And so you can see it has all sorts of different things that it can do. Let's actually try one so you can all. So if everyone, you can actually access it now at octi.ai. I would sign up for it ASAP if you haven't already, because at some point it won't be as easy to access, but right now it's absolutely free. So Zlatko, you want to pick one of these to just do randomly together?
Let's go for something let's do quiz questions and answers.
All right. This one's a simple one. What kind of product do you sell? Pick a product. It can be simple, it can be complex.
Red wine.
Red wine. All right. So we're going to try red wine. So Octi is now using AI. And it's a combination of our technology and our data set to write some questions. So what kind of red wine are you looking for? Pinot, Merlot, Cabernet, Malbec, Zinfandel. What are you pairing with the wine? Cheese, chocolate, red meat, poultry, pasta. What is your budget? It's giving you a budget range. You could actually save this if you want to. Share it with your team. You can actually invite members of your team into a shared workspace. You could also create different drafts. You can see that over here. And so you can create all sorts of different things. Let's try another one. Samantha, you pick one.
Okay, yeah, this is really exciting because this is probably going to be one of the things we're going to talk about later. Let's do a text message.
All right, let's do a text message, top left. Minutes and characters, let's say 160. What's the brand you want to use?
Let's just use Wicked Edge. I think that would be fun, actually.
What are they promoting?
Knife sharpeners.
What are they promoting?
Knife sharpeners.
Knife sharpeners, yes. Couldn't hear. Knife sharpeners. Any offers? Yes, no?
No.
No offers. Let's try to generate something with some AI. And so Octi's now writing some stuff. Wicked Edge, keep your knives sharp and in top condition with our Wicked Edge knife sharpeners URL.
That's so
and if
neat.
I click generate, it'll create a whole new one. Look at that, whole new, brand new one.
Oh wow,
I
nice.
keep doing it. Keep on doing it. It's creating it all from scratch. Oh my God, look. It just decided to give free shipping at orders over 50 right there.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome.
So you all can see, so Octi, it's a fun little experiment by our team. My co-founder, Matt, actually programmed much of this himself, but it's using some cool tech. And everyone out there, go try it out. Tell your friends, tell your family, invite your coworkers, give feedback, tweet at MattPRD. If you have feedback, there's a feedback button, I think, in the thing too. But you know what? I want to hear everything. We're just experimenting and we want to help people save time. And you can definitely expect some of this to be incorporated to the product, into Octane AI itself. But I want to hear everyone's thoughts and everything else, what you all think. So with that, I think we should move right into introductions. So everyone, welcome to another episode of Zero Heroes. We are here with the masterminds behind the Taco Agency. I'm going to let you two introduce yourselves, and then we're going to talk about both the agency and especially the knife brand that you helped increase the AOV of by leaps and bounds. So, you know what? I'm going to start with Samantha. Start with your introduction.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Samantha Phillips. I am a project manager here at Taco Agency. My role in the company is kind of to bring to life our clients' visions, whether that comes from a web development standpoint or a marketing standpoint, as we'll see later, and where Octane kind of came into. But yeah, that's kind of my main role here. And I work alongside Z, who's about ready to introduce himself, but he's our amazing founder. And say some really nice things about yourself, Z.
I saved the best for last. Not that you're not the best, but founders. Save the founder for last.
I think Samantha's much better at her job than I'm at my job. So you should
That's
definitely
the whole thing of a founder, right? The whole point is you hire people who are much smarter and much better at everything than you. Can you hear that, Octane AI team?
100%. Thank you, Ben. I really appreciate it. And always a pleasure chatting with you. My name is Zlatko. I go by Z if it's easier for you. I'm founder at Taco. I used to wear all sorts of different hats until, like we just spoke about, hired these amazing people. We've made some terrible hires in the past. Those people are no longer here because I was terrible at hiring. But now we have the most amazing team, and we've grown quite a bit. We've helped our clients grow, and I'm just really excited to be here and talk about this and kind of share what we've been able to do for one and a couple of other clients that we're working on right now with Octane. So super pumped about this.
I mean, I'm super pumped to have the two of you on finally and to talk about here. I'm going to actually quickly screen share a little bit of what we're going to talk about. But before that, I want to hear or the agency, but we're going to talk about this. If you all haven't seen it, you go to octane.com/customers, and you actually see this amazing case study that we did with Taco about a brand that they worked with that they will increase the AOV of by 61%. So why don't we actually maybe right before that start with a little bit of just I'd love to hear just a little bit more about the day-to-day of what you all do to help e-commerce brands really grow. And then let's talk about the specific case of Wicked Edge. And then we can talk a little bit more about general ecosystem stuff. Would also love to talk about how you can build an agency in the ecosystem. And then we'll just go off the wall with any kind of questions that anyone in the audience have or whatever randomly pops into my head.
Perfect. I'll kind of kick it off, and I'll let Samantha take on the Wicked Edge stuff because she had a much heavier hand in that project when it came to digging into the Octane stuff. But at Taco, we're a full service agency focused only on Shopify and Shopify Plus. We've grown pretty tremendously over the past, we've been in business since 2018. Our team has been solely focusing on providing solutions from a design and a development perspective for our clients. So building things outside the box for some of our clients, some unique features, extending Shopify as much as we can to make it work for them. We've also, over the past year and a half to 2 years, been also very focused on subscription businesses and memberships. So one of our other amazing partners that I know you guys are connected with is Recharge. So we focus very heavily, on that piece of the business because, as I'm sure everybody knows here, subscription and memberships have just taken leaps and bounds in terms of business models and people adding that to their bottom line and being able to project revenue and everything else. So over the past year and a half, I think we really stepped up in our design and our UX side of things. we took a major leap with the team that we hired in the design department, and really helping clients from every perspective that we possibly can without, saying something and not being able to do it. So one thing we don't do is we don't do like Facebook ads or any sort of paid advertising, but everything else from a perspective of, like I said, branding, design, development, custom development, marketing, like all of those things within the Shopify ecosystem, we handle that. So our team has grown since 2018. We started with 3 people. Now we're at 22 people. So, or 22, 23 people. So that's been amazing. And, like we mentioned, Ben, just getting the best people that we possibly can to, bring in their own juices and their own ideas and really elevate our agency and our clients, most importantly. So I'll kind of leave it at that, and I'll let Samantha sort of jump in on her piece with like Wicked Edge or anything else that she wants to mention in terms of Taco with her experience being here.
I mean, let's dive into it to give like that specific example. So like, what is Wicked Edge, and what did they come to you with as like their key problem? Why did they want your help?
Yeah, so Wicked Edge is a Shopify store that sells knife sharpeners. They're kind of in this weird mix in the industry because there's very little known about their product. So when they came to us, and Z might be able to expand on this more because he was a part of the initial conversations and I was brought in when the project actually kicked off. But when they first came to us, their major issue was circling around that people were kind of purchasing the wrong products. There was enough information out there where people were like, ooh, knife sharpeners, I think I want that, but they didn't fully know what that actually meant and how they could use it. They were ordering wrong products, which kind of on the back end looked quite messy when it came to Wicked Edge's, support system and tickets and everything that was going on there. So when they came to us, they were kind of looking, I think, one, to really maximize their user experience from a web standpoint. They wanted their customers to be able to really interact with their site in a way that was educational and look cool and, like really embrace their brand. But they also really wanted us to be able to help them from a marketing standpoint of just getting their potential customers more education to make right decisions and kind of be able to increase, their conversion rates, so people knew more about the product. See, is there anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, and just to that first point, when they initially came to us, I mean, even just on our first call with them, it was, you can almost sense the energy of like how overwhelmed they were with everything, because it's one of the not sexy industries, and like technology is just, outside of Shopify, they didn't really have any systems in place or anything. I mean, our first conversations were like, hey, we have like 50 new tickets a day. We have, it was just like a complete disaster. And so when Elizabeth and the team came to us, they were just like, we need to help in these areas, figuring out, how do we reduce churn? Because you have to imagine with a product like this, when you just look at it, it looks, all crazy and stuff, but these things are really, really heavy. So sometimes they would, on the B2B side, sometimes their invoices for shipping were like crossing like $4,000 to $5,000 for just simply shipping these products, because people would order. I mean, they're like sometimes like 100-pound products like that they have to put on this. It doesn't move. So it was just one of those things where they came to us and they're like, we can't survive if we're constantly getting returns, and we have to take care of the shipping for the customer of like, like a $500 shipping tab or whatever that might be. So for me, when we kind of heard all of those like number of problems, support tickets, losing money, all these other things, like we just knew that we needed to funnel people into the direction where they would reduce their like collection size of products that they were looking at from like 50 products down to like the top like 2 or 3, to just simply break it down, because then the chances of that churn were just like going completely down. So there was just a plethora of problems that just came with the project, and everything from the design to the implementation to the quiz and everything that you see on there right now, that was all 100% done in-house on our end. And the team over there is extremely happy. I think they're a lot less overwhelmed at the moment. I think their business is booming, and you can see just simply by like how much we increased their AOV. Their investment into our agency has really, really paid off.
Can you maybe even talk, like Sam especially, I would love to hear even more, just kind of like that initial process. Okay, like they come to you with all these problems, like how you, the team, both of you, like approach systematically figuring out solving it. And we're gonna get to the quiz, everyone. We're gonna go through it, but I want to kind of hear the precursor piece of the process to figuring out how to solve these problems, because building an e-commerce brand is really difficult.
Yeah, so I guess I can add some things here. So one of the first things that we always do whenever a new client comes to us is we do one of these fancy things called an opportunities audit. And basically it's where we're just going super critical on your site, super critical on everything that's going on the back end. We're getting really knees deep into your numbers, seeing where the issues are. So we'll listen to your pain points and struggles, but then we're going to also find the pain points and struggles that you're ignoring or you're not actually paying attention to or you haven't noticed yet. And so during that process, we have a very skilled team, as you mentioned. We have a variety of people with different backgrounds and skill sets. From designers to developers to PMs that have marketing experience and also a lot of industry background. So we kind of get the whole team to look at everything and kind of give their opinions on areas that need to be changed up, kind of what would be their recommendation. And that's all part of before we even scope out the project. So we're able to really work together with our whole team, everybody's involved, and then work with the whole team of the client to kind of see okay, there's this issue, there's these things going on. So for Wicked Edge, in example, they came to us, as you mentioned, with the issue of, their marketing piece. The main issue was that they just didn't know, their customers didn't know about the product and they were having issues, but they didn't also realize that the site that they had wasn't very user-friendly, and their designs that they had wasn't making sense for what they were trying to sell. So that was a part that we were able to really showcase, hey, you guys need a much more intuitive design. And you need something that makes more sense to the customers that you're marketing to. So that's all part of the initial process, the initial strategy, and trying to see okay, how can we solve those issues? And with the marketing piece, of course, one of the first things that we thought of was to integrate a solution that would be more interactive with the potential customer. And with that, you just have to have a quiz, which means you have to have Octane. So.
And I also just want to add to that piece, it was easy to look at the front end and be like, okay, you guys need a new design, a new UX, but I think where a lot of people don't focus on enough is, you can have this pretty website and everything, but if you're wasting, 20-30% of your time every single day on the back end infrastructure of how things are funneling from point A to point B to point C, we ended up going under the hood and really trying to help them with everything. I mean, they were doing, believe it or not, they were doing support tickets directly through Gmail, through a shared inbox, simple things like that, that when you're running a business and then it kind of just takes off, you almost don't have time to readjust and be like, okay, we need to put the system in place. It's just everyone's just running before they can even walk. And I think for them, they didn't even realize, to Samantha's point, they didn't even realize how bad their backend infrastructure was, to the point where they almost were so new to, new tools and new systems that they were just oh, this exists, or, that sort of thing. So that to me was a very important piece, because they're a small team. And so when one person is wearing 3 different hats and they don't have time to write down procedures or how things need to be handled when new people get onboarded onto a team or whatever it is, that saved them a ton of time on top of everything. So that, I think, I just wanted to mention that because it goes overlooked. I know we've done it in the past where we kind of focus on the front end and then you look in the back and you're like, oh my God, this is a complete disaster. So that I think would be the biggest point to add to Samantha's comment.
So we talked here about being interactive with customers, especially after you've got like the design. So maybe this is a good time to talk a little bit about how to be more engaging with customers and how you did that. Maybe even showing off a little bit of what you did if you want to. Quiz.
Sure. Do you want me to, Samantha, do you want me to share my screen or?
Yeah, go ahead since you're ready.
Okay, cool. Here we go. Let me blow this up a little bit. Boom. Can everybody see that?
Boom.
Perfect. Okay, I could be the clicker, and then Samantha, you could be the talker. So I'll go from there.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, this is the beautiful quiz. So would you like to talk, Ben, about like how we piece this together, kind of like the process behind that? Is that what you're looking for? Okay. Yeah.
Nitty gritty is all good here.
Nitty gritty. Okay. Well, the first piece was actually coming up with the content that we were going to put here, which is why I'm so excited for Octi. That was probably the hardest, most stressful piece of putting this thing together, is kind of getting the questions and being very intuitive with these questions. They, as you know, Z goes through the quiz, it seems quite simple, but we needed to make sure that the questions would also provide a little bit of education, so that, you know, we're actively keeping the potential customers' attention and also letting them know what the product is and kind of leading them to the destination where we're going to give them the best product recommendation. So the struggle that we underwent here was kind of getting the whole team to really interact, the whole Wicked Edge team to interact on the questions that would be kind of placed. So our best method for this, and the method and process that we use now as we're building out more Octane quizzes with other clients, is we always create a flow chart in Miro. We create something that's like a very detailed customer map of what this quiz is going to look like and all of the different options. We go through quite a few different sets of questions, and we end up testing those questions out and changing them. So some of the questions here have been changed, you know, throughout, as we notice if the drop-off rate is higher on certain ones versus others. So yeah, you want to start like taking the quiz? See?
Yeah, so I'll go through sharpeners because that's like their main product. So go ahead, Samantha. I'll just kind of be here.
Okay, yeah. So I think one of the biggest challenges that they had in the beginning is Wicked Edge is a very B2B type brand. They attend a lot of different events. And so a lot of their initial business before they came on Shopify and really became online was, you know, to other companies and to other culinary type businesses. So they really wanted to see, okay, who's coming to our site? You know, is this more personal based, like, you know, in your everyday kitchen, or is this really like an actual business? And that helps them get nitty gritty with their marketing, and it also helps them with product development. So let's just go the personal route, Z. Yeah, so moving into here, we kind of integrated some educational pieces. So, you know, what type of knife users is closest to how you're going to use your knife. So we're already letting them know some of the uses that the sharpeners can have. So this is a very kind of like intuitive type question, because we're letting them know like, hey, if you are, you know, a fire and rescue worker, or are you a home cook or an outdoor enthusiast? So we're already like giving them more ideas of how they can use the product. So it seems like a simple question, but it's very intuitive for us on the back end. And it's also very intuitive for the customer to start to see like, oh, cool. Like I could actually sharpen my hunting knife. You know, I can do these types of things. Yeah, it's like what you want. Yep. So again, here, as you can see, there's like some images depicted. These are like specific illustrations that we wanted to have to make things a lot more interactive. And again, have that knowledge piece. You know, we wanted them to know kind of the blade thicknesses. We wanted them to know how to use these things. And a lot of people don't know that. They just look at a knife like, oh, it's a knife. So this is kind of, we're wanting to even go more in depth now. The quiz has been live, I think almost a year now. So we want to really go more in depth with some more illustrations and maybe integrate some more things here. But this has worked really great to show the customers, hey, look at, the different types of spines. This is, more interactive information about your knife.
Do you care which one I click on here, Samantha?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, again, these are really great questions for us to know, like on the back end, if somebody is, more looking to really get everything, or if they're really wanting just to start with the basics, if they are a beginner. So a lot of our questions, again, we have set up specific rules and things because every answer that a customer is going to click on, that'll lead them to a different flow. So that is something that we set up on the back end so that we can collect all the information that we need. And one major point that, Z and I did want to bring up during this call was basically the biggest success point for Wicked Edge has been the data that they can collect from this quiz and how they've been able to use that data. And everything is really geared on what answers the customer picks or the potential, quiz taker takes. The routes that they take. And every single one of these is hooked up to something in their email marketing system. It is created a segment, or it's created some sort of tag in their customer profile, so that we're able to get really, nitty gritty with how they are marketing. We can really get specific on, okay, these people are like the big time buyers. They want everything and everything that we come out with. We're going to hit them with everything. These are the basic people. We need to send them more like, accessories, or we need to send them more informational videos, things like that. So that's been one of the biggest pieces, is this knowledge that we've been able to get has been absolutely invaluable. Any which one is good. Yep. So this is obviously, it's super simple. We kept the quiz questions lower because we didn't want to lose anybody. We noticed when we had further questions, up at towards 10, the drop-off rate was higher. So we really kind of narrowed in on like, okay, a good 5 to 6 questions is about it. And we just collect the email. You can enter anything. We give them an option to skip as well because we don't want to seem spammy. And that's where it is. Yep. And then we have the results page. Super simple. This is linked on the back end as well. Obviously, we are lovers of Klaviyo. That's what we use in-house. And this is all hooked up on the back end to more segmentation and automated flows. So the customer or the quiz taker will actually get a kind of like an email that goes out with their quiz results, and they'll get a discount, or they'll get reminders of like, hey, you left, this particular product. These are your recommendations again. They get a very in-depth informational sequence as well about each of these products and why we recommended them for them. So that's something that we put together as well.
And you can also, I think, kind of tell by just the price points of some of these, like $760, and like you have a case that's like $949 total. So decisions on these products don't come like lightly from that perspective, because if somebody doesn't maybe like it or whatever it is, and it maybe comes back damaged, or they can't really resell it. So when we did this with them in the beginning, they were telling us how they had literally almost like a half of a warehouse dedicated to the returns, and some of it they couldn't resell it, or they had to like sell it on the secondary market somewhere for like whatever it is. So some of these decisions, I mean, they're really expensive products, so we wanted to just make sure that we minimize the amount of times people had to swipe their card for $1,000 product, for example. And yeah, and so I can go back if you want me to take another like path to this, but if you just add to cart, then it obviously goes in, and then you could just view cart and you could see everything there. And we really kind of made everything, we kind of looked at the demographic of who's going to be purchasing this stuff, and we just really wanted to make everything very bold and easy, because they also had an issue in the past where sometimes certain products would be out of stock, but they had this, out of stock notification. And then people didn't know how much shipping was going to be and all these other things. And we basically took all of those problems and really put it in front of the customer from the very beginning on the website as well. So that was another big thing, is that they sometimes they would have a big order of like, somebody is ordering like 50 pro packs, for example, and they don't know the shipping, because the shipping APIs and things, they can't handle this. So they have to almost do things manually. And so when we got to this point, they were just like, we just need to tell customers to like expect a shipping bill separately, because then it would be less surprise. And so that was another big factor on our end that we had to kind of incorporate and make sure that message was delivered clearly as well.
I mean, this is a super, okay, there's a couple of things that you all mentioned that I want to come back to. One is like one key thing that happened with the quiz was it dramatically helped to increase AOV, especially for customers who came through it. Why do you think that is? Like, why is the quiz so successful in increasing your AOV, which is like a huge thing given like the average value of the product? Because this is a high-end product or a high-end set of products.
Exactly. And I think so that kind of falls back into this, right? So if you're recommended, if you see this product, if you just go to the product page, let me open it up in a new window. If you just go to the product page, you're kind of looking at this and being like, okay, what's the difference? Like, why do I need a case or whatever it is? But the whole point of like the quiz is to really give you, based on your answers, give you the right information. Like I said, they have so many products on here that it was one of that people didn't know. If I clicked on Pro Pack 1, I was never going to find out about like Pro Pack 2, for example. So we wanted to take the quiz and really just bring them to the end destination as quickly as possible. And I think the AOV is a direct reflection of people not going with the very simple product that they think that they need, but rather going with the Pro Pack 2 in this case, by knowing like, oh, I can get these additional things for, let's say, $100, $200 more. So I just think it was just more like a funnel situation that brought that AOV up more than anything, and reduced a lot of churn, which is, I think, another big factor, because any of these products are going to be, shipping is going to be very, very expensive.
Yeah, I would add to that as well. It's like the quiz was really such a great point to get somebody to convert enough to add something to their cart. And once it was in their cart, we had all of these other types of things like cross sells and stuff that would kind of highlight accessories and things to kind of just add in. So I think this was like a great piece, like Z mentioned. It cut out the confusion, and it cut out kind of the decision fatigue that somebody might have going through the actual site. So it made them be able to see like, okay, cool, I'm going to add this to my cart, and then I'm going to look at everything else. And once they add it to their cart, we have some cute animations now from our development team that kind of make it fun and interactive, and have like a cross-sell section that is able to recommend, hey, you added this, let's go ahead and add these accessories in there. So I think that was probably a contributing factor as well, having like the double whammy of the quiz kind of being the catalyst, and then everything else adding to it.
And you can also see, Ben, like, look at simply their accessories, like nothing fall. I mean, this is the only one that's like $95, but you could see everything is above $100. And so even like this case, like a carrying case, like if you think about it, you're like, oh, it's a knife sharpener. Where am I going to carry this? But there's commercial businesses that are doing, let's say, maybe catering or whatever it is, and like, why not just have it in a nice case? It's $185 that you just added to the bottom line, basically.
Right. And especially like, if it's a business expense and like your business is knife sharpening, like literally at my local, there's a knife sharpener that comes every 2 weeks at my local food farmers market. And I've been trying for 3 months, if not more, to just complete a side, to bring my knife, to get it sharpened, and I failed every time. So next week he's going to be there. I'm going to be there. I swear I'm going to put in my calendar. Complete different aside. Samantha, you mentioned about like the biggest value being like the data and the data collected. There's a question also in the comments a little bit about like how you might be using and leveraging that data. And you mentioned Klaviyo, but like, let's talk a little bit about like how you're like leveraging the zero-party data for Wicked Edge and like why it's so valuable?
Yeah, we're leveraging it in quite a few different ways. One way that I mentioned was product development. So I think one area that was quite shocking to the Wicked Edge team was certain aspects of their audience base and their customer base. So one area that we added a few months ago was a hunting option. It's something that they had kind of heard about from people that they met at events, that they were using the sharpeners for hunting and things like that. But we decided to implement it into the quiz and see how many people we were actually getting. And literally, we added it 3 days later. I went back to check, and there was like 86 people added to that segment. And so we hooked that up as a segment into our email marketing system, and we were able to actually create specific campaigns for hunters to give them more information on how they could use the sharpeners for their hunting tools, what type of hunting tools they could use the sharpeners for, and then also just really cool type marketing things as we're going into hunting season. So we've been preparing those for like August, September time to drop, because that's when hunting season's high, and really make some really cool stuff. So that's one area. They've also been able to look at that product development wise to be able to see like, cool, we have so many hunters, like let's make something that's maybe a little bit more travel friendly, a lighter design, something that might be foldable, things like that. So that data has basically been invaluable in that standpoint, because without that, they never would have thought of going down that route. So that's
Yeah,
one.
and it takes out, oh, I was just going to say, it just takes out the guesswork. Like it just takes out the guesswork of what to do next.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's taken out a lot of their guesswork because they're just listening to what their customers, who their customers are and what they want. Another avenue that we have, as we went through the quiz, I kind of showcased where we're kind of seeing who's a beginner of using these types of products and who is kind of like more intuitive about knife sharpeners. That is a segment that we have behind the scenes as well. We've created it where we have like newbies and then more experienced buyers, and that allows us to really market to them in a totally different way. So we're able to send out educational sequences to the newbies. We're able to send out more advanced products to the people who are more experienced, and also give them more tips and create more resources for them. Like Z mentioned, if you're a caterer or if you're, a personal chef or something like that, you need more tips and tricks of like how to use the sharpener on the go or how to make things easy, like when you're actually on a job and stuff like that. So that's how they have been able to use that data from a marketing standpoint. And it's pretty much the number one way that they're making their marketing campaigns right now, outside of like their basic, polls and things from social media and all that kind of stuff. They're really using the data from the quiz.
Wow, that's a whole bunch of different ways to go and like leverage that like data. I'm also kind of curious, like any like actually there's probably a whole bunch of questions, but by the way, everyone, if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat. One I have is kind of like some of the future plans. Like it seems like the data obviously like being used in email, and I have some more questions about like email sequences, and I want to get advice from you all on that. But maybe some future thoughts in terms of like like what the like next stages and next things that you could do. Anything that you're thinking about in terms of like how to leverage the success that you've had so far.
Yeah, that's so great, Ben. That's one of the points that I wanted to talk about also. So when we first set up this quiz, this was sometime last year, we set up the most basic Klaviyo integration. This is something that I recently discovered. I was brought onto like a separate project of this, and we had the basic level, like just quick automated email that was sent after people take this quiz. And then we would kind of manually decide how we're going to do future marketing campaigns and things like that. Now we are actually implementing more automated flows based off of quiz takers, when they're taking the quiz, if they've bought within a certain time frame, things like that. So we're having all these automated flows hooked up on the back end of the quiz. That's what we're working on right now, just to increase conversion rates, and find like any holes that we've seen, we're able to address those as well. So again, any more information gaps that we think might might be seen or anything like that. So we're creating those automated flows now. So that's one thing I was telling Z was like, it's really impressive that we were able to get this type of conversion and AOV increase when we had such a simple setup on the back end. Like basically there was literally one email that was sent to them afterwards, and that was it. That just housed their quiz results and was like, hey, thanks for taking the quiz, here's your quiz results. That's it. So that showcases really the power that the quiz had on its own. And now we're just looking at how we can leverage that more with marketing. And because they have seen so much success from the quiz, now we're looking at other areas of the business where we can implement more quizzes. So we're building out an accessories quiz that will be sent to existing subscribers, which is really awesome. Existing customers. So that's going to be really great. That's going to provide more information on accessories, because we do notice there's a hole there where, yes, people are adding accessories to their cart, but they might not necessarily know what those accessories are for and how to use them. So we're hoping to get more people who have already purchased and may not purchase accessories. We can get that defined and set up actual proper marketing campaigns for them with that new quiz. So we have lots of exciting things on the horizon.
That if anyone ever says the answer to something is not more quizzes, they're lying. The answer is always more quizzes. I love the idea of sending a quiz to existing customers for accessories to kind of like, they all have certain things that they need they may not be thinking about. I'm curious what you're talking a lot about the email flows. I know it's like simple right now, but like, what are the kinds of things from both perspectives that make for like both with the quiz data and even without, just like make for successful email flows and email campaigns? We have a bunch of merchants and operators in the chat. I'm very fascinated by like what makes for successful email flows versus not successful flows.
Yeah, I think our biggest success with email flows has really been the ones that are on brand, and they're not overly salesy. I think being in e-commerce, it can be very simple to just be like, oh, wow, here's a showcase of all of our new products, and here's this and blah, blah, blah. I think what has worked out well with our clients has been adding that personal level or personal approach. So in the flows that we are creating now, we're actually going to have a handwritten email that is by the founder of the company, kind of saying like, thank you so much for investing in my family's vision, thank you so much for these things, and also highlighting his personal products and highlighting like his personal things. We have another company that we're working with right now that it's going to be really exciting with that, because they have a lot of different ranges, and so kind of more personality plays into those email sequences based off of their amazing Octane quiz that we're building in the background and ready to launch in like a month, which is going to be really exciting. So I would say, yeah, having more of a personalized approach, making it more informational has been really big. No matter what type of products you're putting out there, finding ways of really informing your customers of how they can use it, what they can use it for, reminding them that it's there, that they have it, is really, really big. And then kind of laying off the heavy sales, and then when it is time to sell, really sell in an intuitive way, kind of bring out your quiz again, like, hey, it's time to sharpen your knives, it's time to do these things, like here's the quiz to find out which knife is going to be the best for you, or things like that. So I think that has been a great success for us when it comes to flows and things like that, really making it personalized and educational. See?
Yeah, and I was gonna also add to that is I think it also allows us to leverage building a relationship rather than just building a sales funnel. And I think that goes in many different ways. It goes from the customer not feeling like Samantha said, like, oh, I'm just being sold things all the time, but also having these like flows in place where we're doing a lot of education, because as you can tell, like before we started working with them, I didn't even know that this was an industry, for example. Like I had no clue that people took knife sharpening so seriously. It educated me, and they didn't even have, any of that information. I just kind of dug into it. I was like, what is this? And I think a lot of people, just due to the sheer amount of like domain authority right now that they have, I think a lot of people end up on the page. And before I think we did a lot of the work, it was just a little bit overwhelming too. And I think when you just get thrown into this email flow, abandoned cart, and all these things, it just feels very generic. And I think they needed to really focus on, hey, how do we ensure that these people are not only have the right tools, but that we can continue to cater to them in the future as well, and having this data to say, maybe at some point what we can potentially do is like when that reoccurring customer comes back and says, oh, I need another tool or I need another accessory, we can say, hey, you already bought this one, these are the accessories that go with that. So you don't need to go out and look at all the other stuff that's on the accessory list. Let's just tailor that experience just for you, unless you're here to buy obviously another knife or another shot or whatever that is. But we wanted to just make sure that those experiences ended up just creating like stronger relationships.
Completely random aside question. As you two know the thing very well, can they sharpen this knife? This is a light. Oh, it only kind of works in the thing. It's a lightsaber knife.
Ben, why am I not surprised that you have a lightsaber in front of you right now?
I mean, the actual answer to that question, assuming I can turn off the background like that, is because one of our investor, Javelin, when they invested, it's a long story. They gave Matt and me one of these because I think we were talking Star Wars in one of the negotiations. So now there's a lightsaber with branding from a VC firm in my office.
I love it. I love it.
Also, if you want more lightsaber, I will just I have nonstop lightsabers for you. I can. Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Don't be distracted at all. Good luck, everyone. We have a question. How can you combat those generic abandoned cart emails? Any best practices or flows or you can share?
Yeah. So I think one thing that how we've combat that is we've made personalized abandoned cart emails for specific products. I think that generic abandoned cart emails can kind of come across as like the company hasn't really looked into everything, because especially if your copy is very generic, like, oh, you left this behind, it doesn't really like hold the customer and feel, again, personalized. The brands that we work with, they're very personalized brands, and they really want to, like Z said, create a relationship. So what we've done is create very personalized abandoned cart emails for specific products. So for Wicked Edge, an example, we have ones for like the Pro Pack 2 that, might be like, hey, you left behind your Pro Pack 2. You're not going to be able to go this weekend or something like that. It's not that copy, but it sounds different. But we're kind of giving like an actual example of how they would be using that product, what they might have wanted that product for. So again, they can kind of think through that. We have, I think, yeah, that's probably the main way that we've combated those, is having something that's more personalized. And yeah, it takes a little bit more time on the back end, but we've seen such a huge increase in, conversions from those abandoned cart emails as well. I don't have the actual specs from Wicked Edge, but I know like recently we're looking at this for another client, and they had literally just switched about 2 months ago to the more personalized emails. They decided that's something that they wanted to tackle because people were getting really weird emails that didn't align with their products. And after that, they noticed that they were actually getting purchases from their abandoned cart emails when they hadn't had any purchases before. So I think the personalization is a big thing. Anything you want to add, Z?
No, I think you touched on it, to be honest with you. I think that says it all.
Awesome. I think you're still muted, Ben.
Oh, thank you. I fell victim. I was saying, I think it's always much worse to have a badly targeted email than even a neutral email. I just look at my inbox and being like, hey, I looked at your Instagram. We could help you sell your like whatever product. Like, we don't sell physical products. Who the heck are you? In any case, well, a couple quick questions as we're coming up on time soon. This has been super awesome and super amazing. And I'm really thankful that to have both of you on to talk about all these things. Let's get into some tips. you're experts at building amazing quizzes and do it for multiple clients. What are some tips that you have for building super successful, awesome quizzes?
That's going to be Samantha, because she took this under her wing and she made it as simple as humanly possible. So I will just say simplicity is key in every aspect, but I'll let her give you the nitty gritty answer.
And don't worry, I have a question for you, Slacko. For Z.
Make sure you question him. No, I think Z says simplicity, which is true, but there is no simplicity when it comes to these types of quizzes and things, especially when you want them to be so impactful on the back end, because we're talking about how it's going to integrate with day-to-day operations, how it's going to integrate with the marketing. So one main tip that I have, I think I kind of spilled it earlier, was when you're actually in the quiz creation period, I think it's so important to have every single person on the team really into the whole vision of what that quiz is going to look like. So like we said, we have designers, we have, our team, our clients team, and things like that. So it was so important and vital that we do have like quiz maps and quiz flows that really details like, okay, here is where people are entering the quiz. This is what it's going to look like on the site. This is what it's going to look like here. And then here's this question. Here's the flow if they answer this way. Those types of things. So that was really crucial in being able to, create this quiz. Without that, I would have lost my mind and the client would have been not happy.
Don't lose your mind.
Create it. Yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing, especially if you're a service provider that's providing this service to another client. Building a quiz, you have to be organized. Another tip I would have is definitely, not skimping on the visuals, making it interactive. So this is a very basic quiz that we've created. This is one of the very first ones that we created with Octane. We have done this now for quite a few different clients, and we have been able to fully get the design team involved in regards to creating really great graphics and making it very interactive. You could kind of see it showcased here where we had different types of answers, where we had more visuals and then some buttons and things like that. You want it to be very varied, because again, this is online based. You want it to be quick action. You don't want people to fall off or drop off because they'll get bored. So you want it to be very, 5-6 questions, make it fun, make it interactive, because at the end of the day, you are asking these people for money. You're asking them to buy something. So you want them to kind of sort of forget that fact and that they're just having fun, like going through the quiz and getting information about the product. So yeah, I think those are probably 2 really great tips.
And just to add on to that, Wicked Edge, when they first came to us, they didn't have an actual like experience on this store. It was just like, go buy your knives. And I think this entire quiz, and just even incorporated with the design and like Sam said, like animations and different like visuals in the quiz have given them more leverage on actually building like an online experience. And sort of, again, they were not a technology first company, so for them this was all very new. They just sort of trusted us and said like, okay, we'll trust you on this, you guys should know what you're doing. And so I think that was another big factor, is just to really start building experiences in anything that they do, whether it was a quiz, whether it was the email, whether it was how they communicate with their clients, or having a support ticket system. Like all these things like are just little webs of part of like the experience piece of it. So that's the only thing that I would add to that.
Okay, 2 or 3 quick things before we like stop. One, before I ask Sam, I always ask this to everyone who comes on the show, because we have product managers from Octane AI always on these calls. Any major feature requests, something you really want to see, something that you're like dying for us to go and build, anything top of mind?
I think you already did it. Like Octi, I'm so freaking excited to play around with that. Literally, that's going to be my afternoon. See, I'm clocking out now. No, I think that's going to be super awesome because literally I cannot stress it enough. Like the questions part, even though it seems so simple, it's where so many people get stuck. We've seen it time and time again. So yeah, I'm so excited to use that. And I think it's going to be really great because it gives people so many different ideas of how they can market and things like that. So I can't wait till that's integrated into Octane itself. That's going to be amazing. So yeah.
All right, product team, you've got that written down, confirmed, you got that? Z, as we're like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so this is just a little bit of a side note, but we are building an internal brand at Taco. We're going to basically be building a subscription brand for incense. We already have everything pretty much dialed in, and we had to pause the project for a little bit just due to client stuff. But outside of that, we did have, and I'll have to send it to you afterwards, Ben. It was an email that I wrote out that basically the way we had structured the quiz, in order to do it within Octane, we had to have like, I don't know, like 800 different like routes in order to get to that same point. And I forget what the actual feature set was called, so I'll have to send it over to you. But that would be my only feedback. I'll send it over. I can't even remember what the actual
wait, just to be clear, what are you sending over, an EVA, or are you sending over some incense?
I'll send you absolutely both of them, but the email is going to come first.
that makes sense. Can one of the incense be sent of beard?
Sure, that's going to be more. That might require me to cut a little piece off, but yeah, sure, I can send it.
We can't make you do that though. That's like your signature. Wouldn't that like be a crime against humanity or something if we did that?
Dude, this thing will grow back tomorrow if I shave it all off. I have no problem growing hair.
All right. Two-part question for you. One, what's next for Taco? And two, what if somebody is thinking about maybe they have clients, or they're thinking about being a freelancer, or they are a freelancer, any advice for them, building a business as great as yours in the Shopify ecosystem? So it's a two-parter. Why don't we start with what's next for Taco?
What's next for Taco? We have a lot of things a lot of irons in the fire. One thing that we've been focused, just kind of like what I mentioned with the incense thing, we've been down the path of helping people build the brands and continue to sort of evolve and really add like a lot to their bottom line. And we've learned a lot in the subscription space and the customer experience space. So it's been all a big learning process and executing that. And I think we've come to a point where I think it's time for us to sort of take all of those learnings and everything and really, really funnel it into one of our own brands that we're going to do. So I think that's going to be like stage one. The other piece of it is going to be really focusing on the strategy and consulting pieces of our business, because one of the reasons we moved into more of a full service role rather than just being like only design or only development is because that commitment that we get from our clients that, they pay X amount of dollars up front and, we kind of get to work. We don't want that money to be wasted in any way just on simply like, the work of like the output that we put out in terms of design. We really want to get into the nitty gritty of the business and really understand these businesses on a whole different level so that we can actually make much better educated decisions as we go forward. So with learning also comes a lot of sharing. And I think that cycle, we just want to continue that on a whole different level so that where people can actually see the benefits, even just by talking to us about this kind of stuff, being able to use real life examples to say, here's what we've been able to do. And I think Wicked Edge is definitely going to be part of that conversation as we talk about, increasing AOV and increasing experience with the customer and all these other things. So we just want to evolve and we want to, do the things that we love doing, which is bringing all this kind of stuff to life, to be quite honest with you.
That's amazing. There's so many cool things. When I'm so curious about the Incense brand and all the things, but maybe that's to be saved for a future reveal.
Yeah.
And any last words of wisdom from either of you, as like we are going over time, but this was so amazing and so helpful. Any last words from either of you? Last advice, last thoughts, last catchphrases?
I'll let Samantha do this one first. I don't have anything that jumps to mind, but I would probably, the only thing I would say is, I think it's very important for any agency owners or anybody that's listening to this. I can't stress enough how important it has been for us to really take on clients that we genuinely not only like buy their products, but also really genuinely want to help them. I think why we've had such a strong relationship with brands like Wicked Edge is because we didn't go into this just saying like, oh, we're gonna, just cash a check that you guys are sending our way. Like we literally saw the problems that they were going to, and it was like almost like a personal touch to us to be like, we want to just help these people. Like we just want to help them. And whatever that came with, we were ready to take it on, whether it was design, development, strategy, consulting. So I would just say go in with the attitude of helping somebody, and I think that will help evolve the business in a whole different and more authentic way. So I think that would be for me just the biggest piece of like relationship building with clients that are obviously paying us really, really well. And I'll hand that over to Samantha because I'm sure she has a lot more.
No, I'll just follow up on that. I think again, like the main reason that I work with Taco is because of the impact that we're creating. And so I think how Z framed it, we need to have those relationships and those internal desires to work with those clients. And from the same part, like on par with that, is you have to have that organizational culture on the inside as well that allows your team members to really feel like they're a part of something great, and we are working with the clients that really light our fire. And that's why we have been able to retain our clients and continue to work with them. Like I saw some really great feedback in the chat. Shout out to Adam, thank you so much for a lot of those things that you had brought up. I think one of the great things about being able to continue to work with somebody is that we can continue to help develop and like grow their business in different ways and catch things, and they might not always be ready to take those on, but we're able to have that relationship with them where we can say like, hey, we are invested in your business, not just because you give us money, not because of these things, but because we're an actual customer of yours. We love you. We've been working with your team. We're invested. We're part of this family now. And that's what Taco's always been about, is more of a family type culture. So yeah, I think that's huge for agencies that are trying to really build really solid relationships with not just their clients, but with their team.
And I'll just add on to that. Don't be afraid to once in a while do some work for free. That's just like generosity out of your own heart. Because I think on our side, when we make a mistake, because we made mistakes, like own up to it and get it done. And even, at some points don't charge a client for that time, because I think that goes a much longer way in terms of building that long-term relationships, because we're all going to make mistakes. And I think for me is just being able to, own up to that, hold ourselves accountable, and not to make those mistakes again, but in the moment, just to make sure that the client knows that they're being taken care of.
I think that's a perfect place to stop, even though I probably could ask another hour worth of questions. But this was super, by going, you can already tell, like, this is super amazing. We got through so much. There was so much information here. You guys, you all have done an amazing job of increasing the AOV and the revenue of your customers and building amazing quizzes. Where can they find you, Taco? What's the socials? What's the place to follow? What's the place to email? How should they contact you?
Yeah, best place is just go to our website, Taco Agency, spelled with a K, not a C, tacoagency.com. For myself, same thing on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the things. For myself, my handle is like right in my name here and inside of Zoom as well. It's just @zbajelic. And for me, it's like I'm now trying to bring everything that we've learned into my personal brand as well, to make sure to share these findings and everything that we've learned, that I've learned, and hand that down to anybody else that's willing to listen and take action on those things. So that's been the biggest thing for me, is sharing all of that stuff and sharing our learnings, and and if anybody here wants to ever reach out and get some inside information on anything that we've shared here, I'd be happy to, outside of like any direct client numbers, like I'd be happy to share whatever we possibly can to see other people win. So I think that's it for me.
Feel free to share all your direct client numbers with me. No. Thank you both. I won't hold you any longer. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on Zero Heroes. We have another amazing guest next week. Forever was here. Alicia, are you there by chance? Do you like?
I am here. Yes. Hello, everybody. Yes.
Do we know who next? Do we know who's next week?
Yes, we do. So next week we're gonna have Savannah Sanchez, also known as Social Savannah. She's gonna be talking about TikTok ads. So it's gonna be a fun one.
Ooh, we're gonna get into nothing but TikTok. I'm gonna love it. So come back next week, everyone. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, tell your favorite knife sharpener and hunter. We will be back here next week. We're gonna publish the video for all this. Thank you all so much. Also, we're going to show off a major new product next week, even more than the one we did this week. We're just doing nonstop. I'll stop talking. Thank you, Taco. Thank you, Z. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you, Wicked Edge, for making an amazing product. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you guys all. I really appreciate you guys listening in on this. It was awesome. Thank you, Ben, for such a great episode. And Lisi, thank you for reaching out to us as well. Thank you guys for everything. We really appreciate it, and we can't wait to bang out more of these.
Woo!
Later, guys.
Bye.
Later, all.